Hello, today's lesson is the introduction to the distributive property, and we're going to just work with numeric expressions, meaning they're not going to be variables today. But starting tomorrow, we're going to work with the distributive property and variables. So first we need to recall we can write multiplication three ways. 3 with a traditional times sign, times 5, and 3 with the dot, 3 times 5. And this is the way we're going to choose to show it today. 3 and parentheses 5. Side by side means multiply. So using that, we could write the expression 4 times 6 plus 2 as 4 parentheses 6 plus 2. Because the 4 and whatever's in the side, the parentheses are side by side, that means to multiply. So for the following expression, we're going to use the distributive property to create an equivalent expression and then simplify the result. But before we do that, we want to compare. Traditionally, what we would probably do with this is use the order of operations. And the order of operations is we sometimes refer to as PEMDAS, which means parentheses, anything in parentheses we do first, then exponents, then we multiply or divide, those two are equals, and finally we add or subtract, those two are equals. So we can see that there are two numbers in parentheses. So that is 4 plus 8, so I get 12. I'm going to keep the parentheses because this 5 is out in front. And 5 times 12 would be 60. This also works if we have subtraction. So again, using the order of operations, we would do everything inside the parentheses first, which is subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6. We keep the parentheses because we need them in order to multiply the 6 out front. And 6 times 6 is 36. Next one's a little bit trickier, but I'd like you to use your integer rules or use your calculator to tell me what negative 5 plus 6 is. Pause the video and write down what you think that is. If you said 1, you're correct. When we add different side integers, we subtract and keep the sign of the number that has the highest value or is furthest from 0. We kept the parentheses because we have this number 3 outside, negative 3, and negative 3 times positive 1, if you recall. If you don't have a calculator, you have to use this Margar face, a negative times a positive, which would be a negative. So the answer is negative 3. So we now know what the answers are. And you may have noticed that the other side of the paper has exactly the same problem. But this time, we're going to use the distributive property. So let's go back up to the top. We already know that the answer to A is 60, but we're going to try to use the distributive property to get this same answer. And here's what the distributive property says. It says that whatever number's on the outside multiplies both numbers on the inside. And so we're going to try this. If I have 5 out in front times 4, 5 times 4, and I'm going to write that down, 5 times 4, and then 5 times this positive 8, 5 times positive 8, I'm going to get 5 times 4 is 20, and 5 times 8 is positive 40, so I'm going to write that as plus 40, and sure enough, if I add 20 and 40, I'm going to get the 60 that we got the first time we used the order of operations. So let's see if this works with subtraction. So using the distributive property, I'm going to take 6 times 10. So 6 times 10. Now this might be a little bit tricky, but I want you to look at this minus 4 like it's a negative 4. And 6 times negative 4. 6 times negative 4. So 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. So I have a positive times a negative, so I'm going to get a negative. but I'm going to use that negative 24 like minus 24, or I could write it as 60 plus negative 24. Either way, whichever one is most comfortable for you. Either way, if we took 60 minus 24, and again, I wish you would use your calculator on this, that's why we have them, makes it much quicker and easier, we're going to get 36. And that's what we got when we the result we had when we used the order of operations. So now let's try the trickiest one. And I say that because I see some negative signs, so we'll have to be very aware of those. I'm going to start with negative 3, and it multiplies everything inside the parentheses. So I'm going to start with negative 3 times negative 5. And then we're going to look at this plus 6 like it's a positive 6. So we go back to the negative 3 times a positive 6. So negative 3 times positive 6. So let's just remember that if we have a negative times a negative, we get a positive answer. These faces only work when we're multiplying. So I'm going to get a positive 3 times 5 is 15. So a positive 15. But over on this other side, I have a negative 3 times a positive 6. So I'm going to get a negative answer. So I can either write it plus negative 18, or I could write it as 15 minus 18, whichever way is most comfortable to you. You get to decide. So when we look at this, if I have 15 plus a negative 18, if I'm looking at this one, remember our integer rules say if they're different signs, we subtract. So that'd be 18, take away 15. And then I have to keep the sign of the number that's furthest from 0. So I would now get negative 3. If you have your calculator, take 15 minus 18, and you will also get negative 3. And that's what we got on the other side. So now let's turn to the back. So in case you're unable to complete this work during class, these are the ones that I'd like you to try on your own. So try them first and then come back and check these answers. And the answer for letter D should be 49. The first, what we're going to call a rainbow, this little arc, is 7 times negative 2, which is negative 14. And the second one is positive 7 times positive 9, which is 63. Because these are different sign integers, we subtract, leaving us with positive 49. Going to letter E, rather. All right, well, the nice thing about this problem is we didn't have to worry about the signs. We had a positive 56 and a positive 24. We added them, and the final answer is 80. Pause, and please complete letter F. Okay, you could write this as 32 minus 20. This would be negative 20, and your choice is to add negative 20, like this. Or you could use that negative 20 as minus 20. This would be the high school way to write it. Either way, if we use our integer rules or different signs, so we're going to be subtracting 32 minus 20, and that's going to leave us with a positive 12. You can also, if you like, to check these answers, use the order of operations and see if you get the same answer. Please be sure to take a picture of this back page and attach it to the assignment today. Thank you.